this nurture role has been coming up for me a lot in present day. It's been on my mind and on my radar for a really long time. I know that my soul wound is a nurture wound. And in looking at how it's showing up today, some of the things that I really get stuck on is knowing how to ask for what I need. Because even as a 45-year-old woman, 20 years of recovery, I own 2 businesses. It's like, shit, I still don't always know how to ask for it, or I don't have the language yet. And that still never ceases to amaze me. So I think most of you know that I own more than one business. The Healing Collective is my baby. It is my group practice, and it's been alive for 14 years. And going on 14 years, it doesn't matter. I'm spicy. Time and numbers evade me. So a really long time. And I've also opened another business that I started about 1.5 years ago, but I finally got it approved as a nonprofit. And if I haven't mentioned this or you didn't know, it's one of my bucket list things. Like it's a bucket list for me. I've always wanted to do it, and there's a lot of passion in it for me more than anything else. And one of the biggest reasons that I put it off and kept, I'm going to say it, avoiding, is because I got a long history in a relationship with money. And asking people for money is enough to scare me away. Because in my mind, that's the biggest part of a nonprofit, is I got to ask people for money to then go and put it in the places where I want to do the work that I want to do. That was that's the tiny bit that I knew about nonprofits. And while now I know a lot more about nonprofits, it's still a part of my recovery process where it's like, ooh, how do I do this? And there's a lot of overlap in the Healing Collective. I started out the Healing Collective as an insurance-based, very clinical practice, and I'm very proud of that. I also rebranded it, and it became an integrative practice that did not accept insurance for many reasons, and I'm not quiet about that at all. However, I have so much judgment that comes up around money. And it's not just the money thing itself, it's also the people that have it. And I noticed myself with these judgments, and I'm like, oh, I don't like this. Like, ooh, what does this mean? There's just lots of an awareness around what's happening for me as I explore this nonprofit and I step into my roles of leadership. And one of the things that has come up for me in the last couple of weeks is, you just got to say it. You got to trust them with their recovery. And what keeps coming up is, it is very obvious to me through my judgment that they are not in recovery. So I'm aware that I'm falling into some caretaking, and that's not my job, and it's not my role. And it could prevent me from doing some of these really magical things that I want to do for healers, for therapists, for counselors. And in the end, by doing that for them, it's bigger impact. There's a big impact that can happen that I can see. I'm a visionary, if you didn't know that about me. So I've really had to lean on my recovery in this place of trust. I can't trust others if I'm not trusting me. And what I'm recognizing is when I'm judging other people for not having recovery or worried that they won't use their recovery, like, it's really distracting me from using my own. Like, maybe what I'm projecting or assuming about them is what's happening in me. And when I sat back with that this week, I absolutely can acknowledge that. I know even just since the beginning of the year, I've talked to you guys about a book I've read called Mother Hunger. And it's probably one of the most impactful books I've ever read. I don't recommend it unless you are in weekly sessions, because it is so impactful. But what it's bringing up for me is the nurture wound um, around worth, around when my body gets activated, do I know what to do? Around right now, I'm really activated because I haven't been very emotionally available all day. Like just this awareness of how small my capacity is when I'm not embodied. When I am embodied, my capacity it's much wider. I can support much more, and not just on the outside world, but I can support myself in receiving, even if that receiving is a rejection. And so that's come up for me a lot because, well, what other nurturing am I needing? Or what am I not doing? Maybe it's just I'm not doing enough of something so that I feel safe whether I get a yes or a no. Because what I notice about in other areas of my recovery, I'm really capable of going into a conversation and I really am going in knowing that I could get both or one or the other. And it's okay. Like I have I go into a conversation knowing my intention most of the time, not always. Um, and what I recognize about that is because relationally, that rejection has to do with whatever is going on with that other person. Doesn't always have to do with what's going on with me. In fact, rarely it has anything to do with me. And when it has to do with money, which is a very interesting relationship, um, when it has to do with money, there's a cord there. There's something tying to my worth that, well, did you hear what I said and what I want to do with it? It's like, who wouldn't want to offer to, like, that's my judgment. That's where I can go with it when my capacity is low, rather than being able to receive what they're saying. And I know I'm kind of speaking abstractly because I want to be really respectful. And at the same time, I'm just really aware of, something's happening for me with this relationship with money. And I've been working on that relationship for a really long time. Not that it's ever going to be done. And I'm aware that when I come from a place of scarcity, food scarcity, financial scarcity, I can really easily fall into the polarization of that relationship. So, looking at what allows me to receive a yes or a no from another person has everything to do with trusting me. I know what I'm doing. I'm also just getting started on this, and what I know about marketing and what I know about, you guys know that's not my degree. And I'm a self-made marketer. What I know about that relationship is the more I use it, it's a muscle, and the stronger I get. The better I get at communicating. Because it's not that what I'm offering isn't of interest. Sometimes I have to be able to communicate it in a way that one can connect with, which is why I wanted to bring it here. Because when I look at how I can communicate about recovery, I think it's pretty good. And I have to acknowledge I've been doing that for 2 decades. So recognizing the trust has to build in me as I'm in this new adventure. because I've never owned a nonprofit. Well, I don't really own it, but I've never led a nonprofit before. It's a new adventure. Doesn't mean I don't know what I'm doing, just means that the more I do it, the safer it's going to feel. And I can feel uncomfortable and still be safe at the same time. Let me say that again. I can be uncomfortable and still safe at the same time. I think that has a lot to do with what's going on in the world today, not just my story of how it's showing up in my experience, but trusting that my recovery is going to show up in the way that I need it to, but also trusting that I may or may not have anything to give anybody else right now. Like the way I'm presenting it might be the only thing I have. And it also could be that whatever is meant to be picked up by other people will. And if it's not, it won't. Nurturing is recognizing the need for connection, the need for emotional availability, the need for this feels bad. What do I do? I can still fall in that. And I know I say to you guys frequently, if you don't know what to call how you feel, use mine. I'm feeling some kind of way. Because I don't need to know what it is in the moment. I just know that when I feel bad, sometimes it's like that's where I need the nurture. The solution in that moment when it feels bad is what I don't have. And it's scary. It's scary that my body's reacting and I'm like, what do I need? I've tried the tools. They're not working. And I know I've mentioned this, and it's one of our sarcasm. It's one of our favorite topics. Oftentimes it's because it's not an emotion, it's because it's a process, and that process is called grief. So it's not that there's not a solution, it's that I need connection. And I can be uncomfortable and safe at the same time. Last week, I created a parallel between grief and shame. And the reason I did that, it was because oftentimes I know because of what's happening in my body, not because of my thoughts. And when I become aware of my thoughts and they are internalizing, meaning I'm self-blaming or I'm self-shaming or I'm thinking, what's wrong with me? Why can't I handle? I weaponize who or what I am against myself. Those are my flags. That's how I know I'm not as good as I think I am, or I don't have the capacity I thought I have. And sometimes I even like to judge myself when I'm down there, like, damn, Am, you can't even tell your capacity. It's like, shut the fuck up. It's, yeah. So I just wanted to, that red thread coming from last week into this week around grief too, around the body is so much wiser than the brain and the thoughts. The thoughts are almost always wrong. And when I can get to this place of awareness and I can witness my thoughts, I can notice them, I can observe them. That is my recovery. Because Amber's definition of recovery is it gives me the gift of self-awareness. And if I'm so reactive or if I'm in a state of survival, I'm not noticing my thoughts. I'm not noticing what I'm doing or not doing. I'm just surviving. So when I can get to a place and I notice those thoughts, or I can feel or notice my red flags, that is my recovery showing up. That is my guides or higher power, whatever your word is for that. I don't like it, and I can start a battle with it. However, without that awareness, I wouldn't have the ability to shift it. Because as soon as I have that level of awareness, I have a choice. I can keep doing what I always do, or I can try to do it differently. And that gift of choice, it feels like $1,000,000. Like, there was so much of my life that I didn't feel like I had choice. Um, so today, when I'm in this place of emotional unavailability or decreased capacity or self-shaming, spiraling, it's because I'm not nurturing. I can't be full of all of the mana, like not just food and rest, but all the things that feed me. I can't be full and have zero capacity. And I think sometimes, no, I don't think, I know. That's what I mean by I don't know what to ask for because I haven't learned it yet. I'm trying to access one of these neural pathways or these back roads that I haven't built yet. It's not because something's wrong with me or it's not because I'm behind. Number one, it wasn't offered to me. And number two, I'm 45 and still parenting and reparenting. So I am going a little slower because I have to and because I have a choice. I don't want to repeat the things that happened. And the more that I do slow down and the more that I am in this really uncomfortable place of learning, well, that's where the choice comes into play. And most of the time I'm bumping my head through it, trying to figure out what do I need or what helps me get out. And when I use the tools, and I'm not always grateful for them because I just a few days ago said, I've used every fucking tool in my toolbox. It's okay if I have those days too. But what's important to me is the discernment in being able to look and notice. I think this is a process. I don't think this is just a feeling. Because grief is visceral and it is all about what am I releasing to create room for what's coming. And sometimes I can get a little, because I want to be like, nobody asked me for this. Did I approve this? Which is hilarious because I don't even talk in my role as an employer that way. But when it comes to the universe and the deaths and the rebirths that are happening, it's almost like I want a little more control. And I'm glad I don't, because I don't think that I could ever ask for the abundance that my guides, my higher power can ask for me. I don't think I could even imagine it. So being able to recognize that I don't always need to be in control. I don't always be the one knowing. And it's my humanness that wants to know, that still wants the rainbows and butterflies. Because grief is a process where I have to acknowledge I didn't get all that I needed. It's not my fault, and I'm still responsible for giving it to me. That feels deep. And I do think it is our recovery journey. And I do think the way that these things become intuitive is through time. I don't know that I'll ever not need a tool in order to respond and not react. So I hope this was helpful for you guys. I hope there was something that came up for you.